Hey mathematics learners, welcome to Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. So on today's video tutorial, guys, we're going to be looking at the last question from the grade 11 mathematical literacy paper 2 that was written in November 2022, guys. We are finally done with this paper, okay? And this question basically deals with probability. Okay, so we're going to be calculating the probability, right, of Mr. Sekutu not winning the competition, right? So we're going to be using the complementary rule to help us determine the probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning the competition, right? And we're also going to be thinking back to what we learned when it comes to the probability scale. Okay, what does it mean? Okay, if a person obtained a particular percentage, okay, what does that mean on the probability scale? If a person got 50%, what does that mean on the probability scale? If the probability, is 100%, what does that mean on the probability scale? Okay, and we're also going to simplify a ratio. Okay, so before we get started with today's video tutorial, guys, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Please make sure that you click on that notification bell so that you get notified every single time I upload a new video tutorial, guys. And also, please don't forget to give this video tutorial a huge thumbs up, because that really helps the channel grow and it helps the channel to reach more learners that want to better their mathematics marks. So without any further ado, guys, let's get started with today's video tutorial. Like I mentioned, guys, in this video tutorial, we're going to be looking at probability, okay? And we're going to be also tapping into the complementary rule. Okay, I'm gonna help you guys with the complementary rule. Okay, so let's have a look. Please note that question 4.3, guys, it follows on from question 4.2. So we're still going to be using the information that was given to us in question 4.2 to help us answer this question. Okay, it says, determine the probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning the competition, taking into account the number of entries he submitted, and you need to give your answer in percentage format. Okay, so in this case, guys, we are calculating probability, right? And when we're calculating probability here, we are told that we need to leave our answer in percentage form. Okay, so what were we told about Mr. Sekutu and the competition that he entered? Okay, remember, we were told that he submitted 1,000 entries, okay, into this competition out of 10,000 entries that were received for the competition. Okay, so he submitted 1,000. Mr. Sekutu submitted 1,000 entries, right? And there were a total of 10,000 entries that were submitted. Okay, so I did mention that. Okay, to help us basically tackle this question, right, we can basically use the complementary rule. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Okay, so if you basically look at this drawing that I have for you on this page, right, what do we see? Okay, so this circle here is, we can call that circle A. Okay, right? If I say to you, calculate the probability of A, right, you would basically count all the values that are inside the circle and you divide it by the total outcomes that we have, right, in this whole sample space. Okay, this is called the sample space, but this is, I'm not going to go into detail when it comes to this, guys, because this is actually done by pure mathematics learners, but I'm just introducing you guys a bit so that you will be able to just work with the complementary rule to help you determine the probability of something not happening. Okay, so this rectangular region, okay, we can call that, this is called our sample space. Okay, and in our sample space, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers in our sample space. Okay, and I just said, what is the probability of A? Okay, obtaining numbers in our A. Okay, what would the probability be? It'll just be 3 over 6, right? Where am I getting that 6, guys? We already know that when we're calculating probability, okay, probability is equal to your favorable outcomes divided by your total outcomes. Okay, what is the probability of basically having numbers in A, right? It is just 1, 2, 3 out of what are the total outcomes that we have in this whole entire sample space? It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the probability of A is just going to be 3 over 6. And if you had to simplify that, it will just be 1 over 2. Okay, so now let us tap into now the complementary rule. What is the probability of not getting numbers in A? Okay, so I'm just going to add another number here so that you guys are able to understand this example properly. Let's say now let me actually increase this. Okay, so I'm just going to add another number here because I want you guys to understand this concept properly. So if I just keep it as 3, 3, you guys are not going to get the point. Okay, let me just add a 7 here, right? So we said, what is the probability of A? It's just going to be the values that are in your event A, which is 3 over the total outcomes that we have, which is just 7. Okay, so it's just 3 over 7. So then what would be the probability, right, that your outcomes are not in A? Okay, so we basically denote not by that prime there. Okay, how would we then count the outcomes that are not inside this event A, right? It is just 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see that? It's just 4 out of the total 7. Okay, so the probability that we've got outcomes in A is 3 over 7. Probability that we do not have outcomes in A is the ones that are outside your event A, right? Which is just 1, 2, 3, 4 over 7, right? Meaning that when you're actually working with your complementary events, right, the probability of A plus the probability of not, or your outcomes not being in A, should equal to 100. Okay, so if you take probability of A plus the probability of it not being in A, right, this is equal to actually 1, right? It's equal to 1. Okay, so if you add the probability of A plus the probability of it not being A, right, you should get 1. Okay, and you'll see that if we take 3 over 7 plus 4 over 7, you'll get 7 over 7, which is equal to 1. Okay, and this is basically the whole purpose of complementary events. Okay, these two events complement each other because when you add them up together, they will basically add up to 1. Okay, so I'm going to use that analogy, that explanation to help now you guys better understand this question. Remember here now, right, we are given the probability. We want to determine the probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning the competition. Okay, all right, so this is question 4.3.1. Okay, this actually is question 4.3. Okay, we want to determine, this is just additional information for me to just help you understand the concept of complementary events, right? This is just additional. Please don't put it in your final explanations, right? So now we want to calculate the probability of Mr. Sekutu, right, not winning the race. I will denote this. We already know that probability, guys, right, is equal to your favorable outcomes, okay, divided by your total outcomes. Okay, so already what do we know, right? We already know that the probability of Mr. Sekutu winning the race, right, was what? Okay, we already know that he basically submitted 1,000 entries out of a total 10,000 entries, right? And he actually won the race, right? So the probability of him winning, we just know that we're going to take the favorable outcomes. He won by just submitting 1,000 entries out of a total outcomes of 10,000 entries that they received, right? And then if you take 1,000 and you divide by 10,000, what do you guys get? You will get 1 over 10. Okay, so that is the probability of Mr. Sekutu winning the competition. However, we want to determine the probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning. So we're going to put that prime there. this race. Okay, what is that probability? And to make our lives easy, we can just use the complementary rule. Okay, the complementary rule just states that the probability of Mr. Sekutu winning plus the probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning is equal to 1. Okay, and then we're just going to use the information that we already know. We already know that he won, right? And he won, and his probability and the probability of Mr. Sekutu winning was just 1 over 10,000 entries that were submitted. Okay, so we'll just substitute 1 over 10 plus what is the probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning. Okay, I can even just write it like this so that I don't confuse you guys, right? Not winning. That is what we are trying to obtain, okay, which is equal to 1. And then do you see what we have to do here, guys? All that we need to do, guys, we need to isolate the probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning. So we want to have this value on its own, okay? And how can we isolate this value, guys? All that we need to do, guys, we can minus 1 over 10, right? And if you minus 1 over 10 on the left hand side, you also need to minus 1 over 10 on the right hand side, okay? And if you take 1 over 10 minus 1 over 10, it leaves you with 0, and you'll just have your probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning, okay, equal to 1 minus 1 over 10. If you punch this into your calculator, you'll get the probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning being 1 minus 1 over 10, which is 9 over 10. Okay, however, guys, remember, we want this probability as a percentage. Okay, so we still now need to multiply this answer by 100 so that we will have it as a percentage. Okay, so it's equal to 90%. Okay, and that is the probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning the race. Okay, so that's basically it when it comes to the complementary rule, especially when they want you to calculate the probability of something not happening. Okay, think of, okay, what is the probability of that particular event happening? Okay, are we given information when it comes to that? And in this case, we were given information when it comes to how many entries Mr. Sekutu submitted into this competition, and he submitted 1 out of 10,000 entries. Okay, so we can determine what is the probability of him winning using that information. Okay, and then from just using the complementary rule, we know that the probability of something happening plus the probability of something not happening is equal to 1. So as long as you have the probability, or as long as you've calculated the probability of something happening, then it is very easy. It becomes easy for you to determine the probability of something not happening by using this rule. And that is basically what I did here. Okay, and that helped us determine the probability of Mr. Sekutu not winning the competition, and that was 90%. Okay, but he still won this competition. All right, and I hope that this was okay for you guys, right? I had to dive a bit into the pure maths content to help you guys understand this concept, because I think it's very important that you guys also think about this in this way to help you guys understand what is happening. Okay, I pray I didn't lose anyone. Okay, all right, guys, let us have a look at the next question. Question 4.3.1 is, what is the probability of Mr. Sekutu winning the competition? Choose from the table below. Okay, so remember, in the previous question 4.3, we already calculated what is the probability of Mr. Sekutu winning the race. Remember, guys, we found that the probability of Mr. Sekutu winning the race, I'm just going to say PW, was equal to 1 over 10. Okay, so We can also represent that as a percentage by just multiplying it by 100. So the probability of Mr. Sekutu winning the race is actually equal to 10%. All right. So now, from this answer that we've just obtained, we want to determine what is the probability, right? What would be, how would you describe that probability in words using these words that are given to us? Is it impossible that he would win the race? Is it unlikely? Is it an even chance? Is it a likely chance? Is it a certain chance, right? So I'm going to take you back to what you guys did when it comes to the probability scale, okay? Remember, guys, when you looked at the probability scale, right, this scale basically helped you to determine if you basically obtain a 50% probability chance. What does that mean? So if you obtain a 50% probability, right, or a 0.5 probability, that means that there is an even chance of that event happening or of something occurring. Okay, if I say there's a 50% chance of it raining today, it means that it might not. There's an even chance of it happening, right? Okay, it's a head or tail situation. It might not happen. If I say there's a 50% chance of it raining today, okay, what happens if I say to you, the probability of something happening today is 0%? What does that mean? It means that it is impossible, right? It won't happen. You are sure about it. It's impossible, okay? Right? That is 0%. If I say the probability of something happening is 100%, right? 100% today it's going to rain. That means that you are certain it is definitely going to happen, okay? What happens now, right? If we are here and if we are here, okay, right? If I say the probability of something happening is 25%, what does that mean? If I say the probability of something happening is 75%, what does that mean? This is the same as saying 0. This is the same as saying 0.25. If you just punch in 25% into your calculator, you get 0.25. This is the same as just saying 1. Okay, right? So this is the same as saying 0.75. If I say the probability of something happening is 25%, what does that mean? It means that, okay, there's an unlikely chance of that event or situation occurring. So it's unlikely. And if I say there's a 75% chance of something happening, that means that that is likely to happen. Okay, it is likely to happen. So this is basically what you've been given there. You've been given the probability scale there, right? And now you need to use the answer that you've obtained, right, of the probability of Mr. Sekutu winning to determine, is it an impossible chance? Is it an unlikely chance? Is it an even chance, right? Is it a likely chance? Is it a certain, right? Is it certain that he's going to win the race? Okay. And we basically see that this 10% is actually in between 0% and 25%. Okay. So we can just say, we can't say it's impossible, guys. Okay, right? Impossible is if you are sure something will not happen. 0%, but it's not on 0%, it's on 10%. So we can just say that then the probability of Mr. Sekutu winning this race is just unlikely. Okay, unlikely. All right, and that is what your answer is supposed to be. So I went into detail to just help you guys understand in depth what is happening there. All right, let us have a look at question 4.3.2. It says, write 10% to 90% in simplified ratio format. Okay, so I did mention, guys, when you're working with ratios tell you exactly what you need to do, exactly how you need to start off this question, right? And in this case, they told you that you want to write 10% to, when you see that 2, it means that you're going to put your colons to 90% in simplified ratio format. Okay, so we already spoke about this in the previous video tutorial. When they want you to write something in simplified ratio format, right, you want the answer to be in the form of 1 is to something. Okay, and for us to get it in the form of 1 is to something, that means that you're going to divide by whatever value you have on the left hand side. So in this case, you're going to divide by 10 on the left hand side. You're going to divide by 10%, and you're also going to divide by 10% on the right hand side. Okay, right? So what do you see? 10% divided by 10%, right, just gives you 1 is to 90%. Okay, sorry guys, made a mistake here. Okay, you're going to divide 10% by 10%, and you're going to divide the 90 by 10% as well. Okay, so 10% divided by 10%, you see 10% divided by 10%, the percent and the percent cancel, and 10 divided by 10 is 1, right, is to 90 divided by 10 is 9, and the percentage and the percentage, they cancel each other. Do you see that, guys? And we have basically now expressed this ratio in simplified format. Okay, and we are absolutely done finally with the grade 11 paper 2 mathematical literacy exam. I hope you guys enjoyed all the video tutorials that I prepared for you guys, right? I hope that you guys are enjoying the teaching style. I hope that you guys are understanding better and understanding where certain concepts come from, okay, without us just cramming, but understanding why are units canceling, okay, how do you convert from certain units to other units, right? I explained everything in detail, guys, and I really hope that someone out there really just appreciated the explanations and they found them super helpful. Okay, so that is it for today's video tutorial, guys. All the best with your paper 2 exam, guys. And let's continue next year when you guys are in grade 12. Let's do mathematical literacy together and let us achieve these distinctions in mathematical literacy. Okay, and that is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload. That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye, guys.